Welcome, everyone, to episode 91 of the Destiny Digest podcast. My name is Dan Finity, and I will be doing hosting duties today. With us, we have perennial panelist Epic Dan. How are you today?
I'm doing well.
we could talk a little bit more
about that in a minute.
About that in a minute. And we also have Eseipha, producer Esef. How are you today?
I'm exhausted, but
Yes.
I'm okay. Thank you.
I think we're all in that same boat for various different reasons.
Yep. How are you, Dan? You want to talk about that? No, yeah, too many Dans.
I am feeling just a little just snotty, and it's not great.
The sniffles.
Yeah.
I got the sniffles. It started hitting hard during stream today, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't
That's
good."
the worst.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it was hitting, and I was like pressing here, and I could feel the pressure just build up in my face, and I was like, "That's bad. That's bad." I hope one of those old ladies that I taught how to use the computer didn't get me sick, but you know, what are you gonna do, man? So I think all of us are in various stages of exhausted.
Yep.
And so for various different reasons. Epic Dan, you had you helped, you said 20 people through Sunder Doctrine.
I want to say,
Dungeon?
based off of the little emblem tracker, it says 20.
That's insane.
Something like that. Yeah, like 20. Well, it says 20.
Well, if
20,
you average an hour a run,
like
other than
2021
2 runs, yeah, it would make
today.
sense.
So that was you said you were you rated out to me, and you said you were live for 29 hours.
Yeah, so I was live. I went live about maybe an hour and a half before reset, just to get on and stuff. But I had already been up. Maybe 2 hours. I had woke up earlier. I woke up about an hour before my alarm. So I was already up, and I was like, okay, well, I'm up. I might as well get up and just start my day. And I went and made breakfast. I was like, I got some time. I might as well, work on this Elden Ring video that's going to take me forever to make. I might as well work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I might as well hang out with Chad. Just, as a streamer, we just get all live a bit earlier before the festivities start and just hang out for a bit before you get to work.
It's a good lead-in.
And it's good. Give people time, since we want to help the community, gives people time to funnel in, know what's going to happen for the day, and know that they have at least an equal chance to get in
right
at the beginning of the day or at the beginning of whatever. And it's funny because I didn't know that for the contest mode, I was not under the impression that they were going to make contest mode yesterday the exact same as day one. I thought they were going to just let you have the contest mode, but you could bring in all of this stuff,
right?
Like microcosm, artifact stuff that made that makes Archetytan funny for Zotek and all Zoetic. And the first run, instantly we load in, and I tell the person we're helping, hey, put on a microcosm, and they're like, I can't.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you mean you can't? And then someone in chat was like, hey, you didn't see they tweeted out the disabled list, and I was like, disabled list? And they literally just reposted the same one from the first day. I was like, okay. And so we tried to do the Titan thing where you just do the infinite rally barricades and all the rockets, and it wouldn't work. It still was kind of effective, but you didn't get the healing because of that artifact thing was disabled. So I was like, okay, well, that strat can't work because we have the 3 revives and we have to live. So we have to go to the more traditional, hang in the back and do either Lay Monarch or Anarchy and a sniper or something.
Right.
But outside of that, just went through the day, and then the last run took a little bit longer. But we were in it. We got in before reset. So as long as I stayed in it and completed it, they'll still get the emblem and the exotic and stuff. And that one took a bit longer So I think it was about I think when I pressed stop stream it was like 28:59. So I can say
Mhm.
29. So it's been a long
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I would say I've been up for about 36, 37 hours.
Oh
I'm
my
so
god,
sorry.
Dan.
I'm so
Not
sorry,
even on
Dan.
purpose. Not
Yeah.
even on purpose. Because I also when I'm in the mode of like just doing helps, I
Yeah.
have a very bad tendency of not eating.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
So
god.
I also did all of that on
Dude.
one rice cake, some coconut water,
What?
and 1 cup of strawberry great value yogurt
We
from
gotta get
Walmart.
you. We gotta get you like a big old water bottle or something.
I do. I have
Yeah.
2 of them. I have a
Yeah.
bunch of these that I keep, but the problem is, like, I want to say last night, maybe around 1 a.m.
Yeah.
I did a run. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get up. I've been on for about 13, 14 hours. I think it was after Seth's run. I was like, I need to get up and I need to stretch and just walk around because I can feel it in my legs. I've been
Sure.
sitting
The
for
run
a
was
while,
so bad, guys. He needed
and I
a
was like,
break.
so I get up and I go to the fridge and I look at all the food and I'm like, I don't want to cook anything.
Fair. That's fair. No, I will give you that one. That's fair. That's fair.
And I was like, oh, look, a cup of yogurt. This will
Right.
do me fine.
God.
My God, dude.
And so it was good because in order to keep myself awake, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to, after in this stream. And I even told Dan, I was like, I need food. And I was like, I'm going to go to the store, just keep myself awake, keep my mind active. So I can just, if I sit here, especially with no like stream stuff on, I will go to sleep.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
my body's like, it's time. But if I keep
Yeah,
myself
no.
active, keep myself moving, I can keep going. And it's kind of a blessing, but it's also a curse
Yeah.
that I can do that because I can do a lot of long streams for the sense of like, as long as I'm helping people and as long as I'm continually actively doing like runs, I'm good.
Mhm.
But the moment like they start slowing down or like I'm in orbit waiting for 5 or 10 minutes, that's when my body's like, okay, it might
Yeah.
be time for us to rest because you're not doing anything active with your brain or your mind.
Right. Dude.
So it doesn't even feel like 29. It doesn't even feel like 36.
Amazing.
After podcast, I will feel it. I'll
Oh
put
yeah,
it
yeah.
up.
You should go to sleep after the
Please
podcast.
sleep, yes.
You should. That's what you should be doing. I'm
Oh
so
my
sorry for
God.
I'm
keeping
good
you,
now.
dude.
No. I'm good now. I'm good now. But I will get a very nice long
Oh hell
12
yeah.
hours sleep after this. I
Yeah,
guarantee.
you will.
And
Yeah.
on the way home, I went to Jimmy John's, so I had
Yeah.
a sandwich there.
That's
So
good.
I'm now well fed.
What's your go-to Jimmy?
But so today I got the Beach Club, which is
Yes.
just like turkey
Yes.
and I think ham. But today I was really hungry, so I added salami and some other meat they call it, something with a C, capicoli.
Oh yeah, capicola.
Yeah,
Yeah,
capicola.
yeah.
Yeah.
I never knew what that was, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's fairly
So I bought the giant.
good.
But I did it. So I bought the giant. And I was like, can you cut it in half so I can eat one when I get home and one when I wake up in the morning?
Yeah.
So
Oh
I
yeah,
have
there
that
you
as
go.
well. So
Thought
I ate
about
the
that.
half and I'm like, So I'm good
Yeah.
now, but I guarantee in about 3.5 hours, when
Yeah.
that actually settles,
You're just gonna scarf.
I'm out like a life.
Yeah.
Like a light. I'm gone. But I'm good now.
So I've started going to Jersey Mike's more. Just because
I
the owner
wish we
of
had a
Jimmy
Jersey
John's is
Mike's
weird.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we had a Jersey Mike's here.
Yeah. I've started doing that more, but when I go to Jimmy John's, that's my like that beach club is my
It's either
go-to.
that or the 13. Something like a Jimmy. Something with a Jimmy.
Yeah.
They have the odd names. It's something like it's the one that has like a whole bunch of meats.
There's like the
But
Italian
I go to,
nightclub
like,
one that I like a lot. That's
the
there.
Italian nightclub's another one. What
Yeah.
I go to normally is the Beach Club.
Yeah. The beach club is good though. So you add bacon to that, and then you put it on their whole wheat. So it isn't.
I got it on a whole wheat today.
Yeah.
I didn't bake him.
Yeah.
I might
And
have
then
to in the future.
have them slice that in half. That's a good
Mhm.
one. That's a good one. Yes.
Yeah.
The Dans are
I'm
in
well
agreement.
fed. I actually got food finally.
Yeah.
My chat always says you need to eat, and then I'm like, okay, I'll eat. And
Yeah.
the same thing happens. I'm like, I don't want to cook this. I can't find the bread. I'm like, okay, no banana.
Yeah.
So, dude.
Oh yeah. I had a banana earlier, and like when I got done, like around raid time is like we had macaroni noodles.
Mm-hmm.
And I just threw some pesto in there and a little bit of olive oil and like rolled that through and had that right before raids. And then
See, I used to order.
Yeah.
Did you ever order like Uber Eats?
Dude,
you're probably better than me.
It's very no, because we just did
that used to be terrible for me. Well, no,
I went
used to do that all the
downstairs.
time.
I went downstairs and talked to Jenny for a little bit. We went for a walk, and when we came back, Jenny was like, "Well, what do you want to order from? Do you want to order anything?" And I was like, "Yes, I want Chinese food."
Do you ever order while you're streaming?
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've done that. I've done that in the past. I'm trying to be better about it because
I during pandemic years, like in 21 and 22,
yeah,
that was a big thing for me. And I then realized how much money I spent on it.
Yeah.
But like it was very nice, but you never realize how much those
you don't want to pay
$40
$40 for Jimmy John's.
That's what I'm saying. I spent $35 one time on McDonald's breakfast.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is no way I should be. I just bought like it was like just a normal like McGriddle meal. With like I don't know, like something like it's just a McGriddle meal, the hash brown, like the orange juice, and I like a coffee.
Yeah.
And with the delivery and the tip, because you gotta tip them because you don't want them spitting in your food. And
exactly.
You know, you gotta tip them because they're bringing you your food. I was like, I could spend $30 when I could have just drove and spent $10.
Yeah. And the gas that you spent was like maybe $2. Maybe.
Yeah. So like,
maybe.
I tried not to, and now I've fallen into the thing where like I just don't eat sometimes. Or like I'll just keep some rice cakes. Yeah. I need to absolutely be better with the meal prep.
Yeah, I think we all. I think we once you hit the threshold of like, I'm going to say 25. I think 25 is when you should be meal prepping. It's not until you're 30 that you realize you should have done that all along, and then it's like 35 when you're like, oh, I should actually just make this a habit.
That's funny. The only time I meal prep is during day one raids and like the first week of like expansions. I'm always good about that. I don't know why. The only time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna meal prep some meat, some vegetables, and some like grab stuff that's gonna be healthy and not gonna like kill me in the future. When I'm just like sitting here for 12 hours. Those are the only times I still do it. And I'm like, why don't I do this year round? I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
No, it's we should be treating our bodies better. Gamers, treat your bodies better.
100%.
Oh god. I will say a little off the Destiny topic because we're going to be diving into it a little bit more. My weekend games, I got to play Billionaire this week. I played Billionaire and I played Avowed on Thursday.
Is Avowed worth it?
It's fun, dude. So you know the things. So I also beat Dragon Age Veilguard this week.
Oh,
let's go.
So I finished.
I hear about Veilguard now.
So I finished that.
You got to the end.
Because I got to the end, I actually got a pretty good ending. I think I got the best ending. Like where you kill the guy and then the chat spoilers for Dragon Age Veilguard. You kill the main bad guy. And then when the other bad guy comes back from the jail, you know what I'm talking about? The bad guy comes from jail and he's like, I've bound his soul to the veil. Like when he's doing all that, like I actually got like, you know, his lady friend came up and was like, hey, and like we convinced him. We got that. We got the good ending. We got the good ending. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna say anything else. I'm not gonna say names. Mainly because I don't remember them, but
I will ask because there's a side quest that if you're a Dragon Age fan, it's like when you see a story for like 5 to 10 years, and then they come out with a side book that
destroys everything.
Destroys it in a way that like makes it better because you're like, oh wow, there's a side quest that ends with giving you something to make the end of the game easier.
Yes, I got.
Did you do that side quest?
Yes, because so I did my best to do everything in the game. I ended up spending like 80 hours or something like that. like in Dragon Age
Okay,
Veilguard.
yeah.
Like
So
something like that.
my playthrough was about 70. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
about the same.
And so like I max out all my companions, all my partners and everything. And like so they all had their like final skill set stuff.
Yeah.
Like I was like
They're
and by
they're Veilguard.
yeah. And by the
builds,
time
yeah.
I was done with that, I was like, I am ready to end this game. I like if they throw me another quest, I'm just going to bypass it. And the moment that I was like, I'm gonna stop doing extra stuff was when there was no other thing to do. Except for end
See,
the game.
you did more than me because
So
I remember complaining. I did have complaints, even though I really like Veilguard. I felt the same way where I was like, I thought we were getting close to the end.
mm-hmm.
Nope, here's some more stuff. Here's some more stuff. Now we're getting up. This is not the end.
It ends like
and
5
they did
times.
It like it ends like 4 or 5 times. And I was like, I didn't finish 100% because by the time I got to the third fake ending, I just beelined it to the end because I need to see this through.
Yeah,
that's
how it was.
It's over it.
If it didn't say like main objective, I didn't bother with it.
Yeah,
unless it was my romantic interest.
That was what I was just like I was so ready to be done, and by the time that I was like, okay, I'm really ready to be done, it was the end. So I didn't have to do too much else. So that was a blessing. But so the combat in Veilguard can be fun. It really just feels like the enemies. It really just feels like the enemies outside of bosses are just in your way, and it's not. There's no real challenge rating or anything for that.
Nope.
I will say, just within the first 3 hours of playing Avowed on Thursday, I had a better time in Avowed than I did the entire time in Dragon Age Veilguard. Even taking on the optional dragon bosses and stuff, because those were fun.
What I've
those
seen,
fights
is
were
it first person?
It is first person, or you can do third person, so you can do either or.
Okay, so like Fallout games.
Yeah, and like I liked. You can pretty much do whatever when it comes to fighting. Like right now, I'm rocking a sword and a shield just because classic. Like but you could do shield and like a musket, or like all of those things kind of play together. It is a really fun time. The characters I feel are a little bit more engaging, like out the gate. And I'm just looking forward to getting back into it. It feels like. Did you ever see the movie Annihilation?
I want to say I have, but it's been a long time since I watched it.
It was like pre-pandemic
movie.
Yeah. Go watch that movie. It's really great. But it kind of feels like Annihilation meets Medieval Knight stuff. And it's pretty fun, like high fantasy. So
I remember when they announced it at the Game Awards. I remember putting it on my list of like games to keep an eye out, but I don't know how it flew under the radar. Like I didn't know it came out until like 3 days before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. I don't know why I thought it was coming out end of this year.
Yeah. It's
by that point, it was like too late for me to like veer away from what I was doing at the time to like play it. Still stuck in that Elden Ring playthrough at the time.
I will say I'm playing it on an Xbox Series S.
Okay.
So I'm playing at 30 frames per second, my guy. With unoptimized, So I would like.
Are you playing it through the Game Pass?
Yes, I'm playing it through Game Pass.
That's what I thought about doing, but don't they have it where you can play the Game Pass stuff on PC?
Yeah, you can also do PC Game Pass. I'm doing it mainly to offload while I'm streaming, not so much.
That's fair.
Like, that's what I'm doing. But yeah, it was Avowed's fun. Avowed's fun, but not as fun as Billionaire, which is a game
that
they sent me a code for this game. Raw Fury did, the publisher.
Okay.
And it is, you know how we've been talking about Balatro, right? We're like, Balatro's so fun.
Is it
it's
like
run-based.
Balatro?
It is like Balatro, but for pachinko. And
pachinko?
Yeah. Pachinko and like Plinko. So like, instead of like poker coded, you have boards, right? And you drop a ball from the top of the board, and it makes its way down and you earn points based on like the different modifiers that you hit on your way down. But after each run, you get another modifier that you get to add to the board, and there's some crazy synergies. Like there's pigs that blow up if they've been hit like 14 times, and like
pigs.
Yeah. There's these pigs that blow up. There's teleporters, so you can set a teleporter at the top. What my favorite thing to do is this: you set a teleporter at the top, and you set 3 teleporters down at the bottom. And if the ball hits any of the 3 middle areas, it'll go to the teleporter there and then bounce back up to the top and run again. And and so you can do all sorts of like crazy things with it. It was a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting it to be that fun. And then it was astounding. I only had heard about it because Local Thunk, the creator of Balatro, had been like, hey, yeah, I had played this game last year, and this game deserves a little bit more more of a shine to it. So like check it out. And so yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I had a lot of fun with that. We spent like 3 hours playing that game, and I didn't even like plan on playing.
Didn't even feel like 3 hours.
Didn't plan on playing it that much. Like it was great. It was really cool. And then Saturday I got to run Sunder Doctrine with you. So that was fun. The contest mode. You made it very easy. If anybody in the future, if you're like, I need to know somewhere to go for like a nice experience with my contest clear, if I'm looking for a carry, Epic Dan's where you go. He takes care of you.
100%.
It's only fair. It wouldn't be fair for me to tell you like, hey, I can help you get it done, and then we're there for 4 hours.
Right?
You know?
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be respectful of like the people's time, especially other creators who like have just as busy a schedule as I. It's like I'm gonna try to make it as easy and as care and stress free as I can.
Right.
This is how it's got to be done.
Heck yeah,
I mean,
dude.
yeah, but still, like it's still a contest, right? It could have still been like a little bit. Like that's why I was like, oh, in my head I was like, I think it's gonna be like 2 hours, which would have been fair. To be fair, it's a contest mode, right? I would have been okay with that technically, but it was like so smooth, so smooth.
Yeah, man.
The biggest issue with contests, for most people, is just a lot of people do dungeons. I think it's fair to say dungeons have a higher player population that that plays that activity week over week.
Oh yeah.
More than raids. So everyone's kind of accustomed to raids, but more people are used to like the dungeon experience. And unlike raids have the revive token system and having to play an encounter around it. Dungeons don't really have that. I don't remember if Mastery does. I don't do a lot of Masters. I don't really care for Artifice armor like that. I know they have the champions, but I don't think they have the revive token that like you have the one and done. You can just die and stuff. But so what I've noticed that makes contests more difficult isn't the actual content itself. It's the punishment of once you're down, that's it. You can't die again because that's just one revive away. That's everything starts to domino effect fall apart. The moment that first death happens, the earlier that death happens in the encounter,
that's true.
The harder it is for the end of the encounter to be completed because the longer you can live, the more mistakes don't happen, and the more time you can get in the encounter. So as long as people don't, that's why I always say like, I told one person, I'd rather you not damage at all. I just need you to live.
Yeah.
If you can live, at that point it was Crowd. Me and Crowd can take care of the damage. But we can't take care of the damage if you can't live.
Yeah.
And it's a hard, I have to remember, it's a hard concept for people to understand because a lot of people are used to dungeons and they might do dungeons a lot, but you're not punished for that one death. Unless you're doing like a solo floss. Yeah, you got the 40 seconds
is the worst punishment there.
You have pretty much a lot of wiggle room to, I messed up. Hey, just play your life a little bit, get my res, we can keep moving. Versus you have that issue happen, and then if you mess up again, you cannot fix it because you already messed up once. That's what I've noticed from Vesper. I did help with Vesper too, from Vesper and from this dungeon. So it will feel easy if you don't die. And that's just interesting.
Yeah, I was actually having like quite a bit of fun, like running on Contest. I didn't get to play it on Contest the first weekend because of schedule stuff, but then also because of
and the PlayStation.
yeah, PlayStation being down.
Yeah.
So like that was kind of a bummer, but it was very nice and streamlined the way that you guys had it knocked out.
Yeah.
And I feel
100%.
like yeah, it was just a lot of fun. And Seth, this was your first time doing Sunder Doctrine. How did you feel about your experience? Like,
it was so funny. We talked a little bit about that earlier. So like I hadn't been able to do contests. I was also not really interested because I didn't have a team and I wasn't looking for a team and I kind of took like a step back from Destiny a little bit. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to do contest at all. It's fine. And then in my head I was like, worst case scenario, if somebody like on my friends list is available on like the Sunday to run me through or after they were done with their own run, that like I would have been fine with that. But other than that, I kind of just like chalked it up to like I'm not gonna get it then.
right.
That's fine. And so when they announced the whole, oh, we're gonna have another 24-hour because of the PlayStation servers, I was like, oh, that's cool. But I didn't really think more about that. And then Dan was like, if somebody wants it, like just let me know, just hit me up. I was like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna actually do that. And then in my head, I was like, oh, I'll go do the dungeon once during the week to get an idea of it. But then that did not end up
Yeah.
happening. I was like, oh, okay, well, oops.
Well, life got in the way.
And then I was
It's actually better
well,
you didn't do that because I myself went into. I know you probably wouldn't have gone to LFG, but the strats that the traditional. I don't want to say traditional, but the strats that it seems most people are doing in normal would not work in contests.
Oh, yeah, fair. That's also but it was more like understanding how it worked. That would
Oh
have been the
yeah,
thing why, but it's okay. Like it still worked out really well because of how you had it all set.
yeah.
But so I ended up not doing the dungeon at all. I was like, and then I told Dan, I was like, Dan, I have not done this dungeon. Like, I have no idea I've seen people do it. I've seen like parts of encounters. I have like vague idea of what's happening, but really not any deep knowledge of the thing.
Right.
He was like, that's fine. I'm like, okay, just so you know. And then I also warned him ahead of time. I was like, if something weird happens in the game, it's because of me. I'm cursed. You've been warned. And so
I think we'll have a competition because I've seen a lot of weird things happen to me as well. So that's why I was like,
that one was a really smooth one. Like
yeah.
nothing much nothing much weird happened. But I've had instances before where it's like I can tell you all about it later if you want. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, so I came into that like not knowing, and I was like, just tell me what to do. Just tell me what you want me to do. Not even like what is happening, what's the encounter, what's the mechanic. Just tell me what to do. He's like, that's fine. Like he's like, there's no time for a teaching run. I'm like, yeah, that's fair. Don't worry about it. And like him, it was Cobus. It was Cobus and Dan.
Yeah.
And it was so smooth. It was like follow Dan or like yeah, mainly I just follow Dan the whole freaking time. It's like follow Dan. Okay. Like kill this person. Okay, pick up the lens. Okay, go put the lens there. Okay. And then just survive, right? Don't die. I died like once or twice, but it was okay. It was really smooth. I think we did the first encounter like in one shot. We didn't wipe
We first
it.
tried the first and third, and then I decided we shouldn't first try the second. But you know,
I think it was a decision. To be fair, the first time we wiped, I think it was me because I forgot there were the little guys in the back all the freaking time that keep spawning. I died to that. Cobus was Cobus, to be fair, did give us a really good warning. He's like, if the ogres come out, I will panic. And he did warn us. The ogres came out and he did panic.
But it's not so much that the ogre showed up. We got not the bug, but we got the worst RNG where we got ogre spawn 3 times back to back.
Yeah,
so
it was
that
bad.
was very bad.
Oh god.
Like panic. I was like picnic time. And then the second try we did, I didn't rally. Cobus had his loadouts were all wrong. And Dan was like, I don't know what happened to you, but I know like all 3 of us it just did not work out. So we're like, okay, we're just gonna wipe this one.
Yeah, no.
But we did it on the 3rd time, so that was good. It was still very smooth. It was just like that one was just it was very funny. And then we did the boss, and then the boss went really smooth also. I was like just following Dan around, and then he was like, do you have Koonsbreaker? I'm like, yeah, but I don't have the catalyst. It's like, do you have div? I'm like, yes, I have div. It's like, okay, you're div. I'm like, okay, I'm div, bitch. That's fine. We're good with that. So we did that.
Yeah.
It was really, really smooth. So, like you said, I think it was great that I didn't really know what was happening because you could just tell me like, do this, do that, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And it went really well. You know what it reminded me of from like my own personal experience? It reminded me of when Carolina Gamer taught me Crown.
Oh.
Okay.
So
Okay.
back in the day, I learned Crown with Carolina Gamer, right? With CG. And CG did the exact thing you did. He did explain the encounters because we had time, but he was like, follow me, do this. He's like, okay, now we do
Yeah.
that. Now we do this. I don't know if any of you have ever raided with CG or ever been
Yeah.
taught by CG, but CG and Epic then has this very similar kind of calm, soothing presence, even in like very high stress situations. So they're like, do this. Okay, we're going to do that. And then like, CG did explain the encounters because again we had time, so it was like, here's the logic of this. Now follow me and do what I say.
Yeah.
In a very nice and calm way. So like that reminded me, like this dungeon reminded me really much of this experience that I had, which to me still makes it my favorite raid because of how I was taught that raid.
Crown.
Heck yeah.
So like it was a great experience. That's all I want to say. But yeah, so again, I know pretty much nothing about this dungeon. I've completed it. I can't tell you anything about it.
Hey, you have the emblem, so
Yeah, you got the
No,
emblem.
I know. Yeah, I did get the emblem. I did get the clear. I did get the exotic. So that was really cool. I really appreciated that. So yeah, overall, like amazing experience because of the people that were there. And like again, I will recommend people to go to you if they need to like learn a dungeon or need a clear of a dungeon or something like that. Because you really remind me of CG. And to me, that's one of the best way to learn encounters, whether it be raid or dungeons, but like just be like,
yeah.
here's the encounter, here's the mechanic. You didn't do that this time, but again, it's because we didn't have time, and
Yeah.
I'm more than okay with it. But
Yeah.
I know that overall, you tend to do that. You're like,
Oh,
here's the
yeah.
encounter, here's how it works, here's the mechanics, here's what we're gonna do. And like, of course,
Yeah.
anytime you explain that to somebody, it's like it's all up in the air, right? They've never seen it, or maybe they've seen people do it, but they've never experienced it. So you're like, I'm explaining
Seeing
to
it
you the
is totally
theory.
different from experiencing
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It's like, here's the
Yeah.
theory of it, then we're gonna go into the practicality side of it.
Because
And then
if you watch a streamer, like it's crazy because sometimes people say, I've seen this, so I'm like, yeah, but if you watch like say my stream of just seeing what the screen's showing, you're not seeing all the other stuff that's happening around.
Yeah.
And like what's like triggering this and what's triggering that and what the other people are doing. Being in the environment, definitely different.
Oh, 100%, right? But I think like that's to me that's what that was a really good thing was like, yeah, you were like, here's we're going to do this, follow me, we're gonna do that. And I like that because like I had again basic ideas of how things were working because I'd seen
Yeah.
people do it, but like just vague ideas, right? And I didn't look into it. I didn't watch any videos. I nothing. Like I went into this almost blind. Not really, but almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way you taught it to me, like that's the perfect way. It's like
Also, the biggest thing is like there was probably very few, even with Cobus helping me because we do a lot of helps together. There's vaguely the most important thing is whenever you're taking someone through it, whether they are experienced with it or not, is making sure they don't feel like they don't understand that, but also that you prepare them for what actions are about to happen.
Yes.
So like a lot of times it's just me say, okay, when this happens, I want you to well, or pick
Yeah,
this
yeah,
up and
exactly.
then
Yep.
do this in a little bit. So they know at least, even if you don't know what you're doing, you know, sooner or later, Dan's gonna want me to do this. Or sooner or later, Dan wants me to prepare for this. Or sooner or later, Cobus says, we're gonna see ogres, we're gonna panic. So you know like what to expect.
Right.
And
no, but that was
while that's
great.
weird,
And you
you're
were
gonna
like,
remember that. You're gonna remember ogres mean panic. No matter what.
yeah, exactly. But like even if there were points where I was like, you were like, oh, this is gonna come up and then I want you to well. I'm like, okay, but still tell me to well.
Yeah.
Right? Because like sometimes the little freaking things on
Because
the
there's a
screen are
text
not
popped up, but there's a lot going on too. So like
exactly. So I was like,
giving
just
that
tell me when
reinforcement is
to.
doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, and then you were like, well now. And I'm like, cool, perfect. I can follow instructions really well.
Yeah.
So that was great. And so it was a really great experience. Like I said, to me, it reminded me very much of when I Crown with CG, like a very same kind of feeling and very kind of very similar experience. And I loved it for that. Thank you for that. Great experience for that. And like you
CG
said,
is
because
good people, so I'm glad to hear that.
oh yeah, he's amazing people. Like he's the one who taught me to raid. Like
Yeah.
I will hands down say that. Like CG taught me to raid and taught me to be efficient in raids. Like there was a point when I was raiding a lot with CG and like we were doing Crown with like like we were running Crown with pretty much the same people all the time.
Yeah.
I remember we're doing runs without anybody speaking. Because
Yeah.
everybody had
Knew
been
what they
doing
were
it for
doing.
so long.
Mhm.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. We were always with the same like teammate, if you want, and so we like in Crown, you had to like
Crown
switch
that you did
buffs.
not have to really communicate if you knew like if you could get into
If
that
you knew
flow
the
state with your
person, yeah, yeah,
partner.
yeah.
Mhm.
And like you had to switch the buff, like you had to exchange buffs.
Yep.
Yeah, no, there was no talking. It was literally like
I
CG
needed.
would go towards the thing, and I would like, okay, I'm gonna follow. You just need to keep track of where your partner is, right? So yeah, so to me that's what it was, and like it showed that you run a lot Cobus because
Yeah.
you guys did talk, you guys did have to exchange information and whatnot, but it was very smooth, and you guys knew like, okay, I'm expecting him to do this, and he's
Mhm.
expecting me to
A
do
lot of
that,
the
and
information we were doing was just vital, just like you would probably hear us say a
exactly,
number or something, or
yep,
like
Right.
a
it
com
was,
real quick about
yeah.
something.
Exactly. It was really great. It was a really great experience. So yeah, amazing experience. I will definitely recommend people to go to you if they need any like like a dungeon raids or whatever. So yeah.
We don't
I
have
need
any
to
until the summer though.
Right.
oh, I know. I mean it can be old raids, It doesn't have to
Hey,
be
I've said a few times. I really wish they would make the. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. They should. I know we hate it, but they should do some contests versions of the old dungeons.
That'd be kind of interesting, I think.
So,
Definitely.
what was I dropped in our chat a question that that Naptown asked, is that would it be cool to make one full dungeon mixed with every dungeon that's on D2, or am I just crazy wanting that? No, I don't think that
You
you're
should
crazy
do
wanting that. That is
No.
Pantheon. That is
Oh,
what
yes,
Pantheon
yeah, that's
is.
what I was gonna say. That's
People
what I
Like,
was
want Pantheon, but a dungeon
Pantheon
version now.
for
Yeah.
dungeon. Yes.
yeah,
I'd be down for that.
if they mixed and matched like dungeon like encounters with raid encounters in that way for Pantheon, 100% would be in.
Yep.
Like that sounds great. Like,
Yep, I'm here for it. Hollow Knight was, from what I know, Hollow Knight is where Pantheon came from. And I remember when I played through Hollow Knight, and they would take all these bosses from the base game and from the DLC, and they would put them in the Pantheon, and you basically have to boss rush,
Yep.
beat all these bosses back to back, and all these variants of them. And you'd be like,
Mhm.
man, this boss I fought in like chapter 3, now I have to fight this boss from chapter 3 and chapter 5 and fight all these other mobs around. And it makes for a really unique experience. I've said for a long time, I really wish Pantheon was a seasonal, every season thing, because that if they really cared about player counts, and I know I'm not a dev, and I know I don't know how devs work. But
How much
if
work it is.
that didn't matter, if it didn't matter,
Yeah, fair.
if you had a Pantheon at the end of the season with just different stuff, you didn't tell us what we had to expect in Pantheon, man, that'd be insane.
It'd be really interesting. Did they talk about Pantheon coming back?
Well, they've talked about it in
They
the
said
past.
it would come back,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no
no
They haven't
hard
said
and
anything
firm
about
like
it.
facts as to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whether it
the
will.
rumor
I
was a year. They were gonna give it a yearly
like
thing,
1
but like
year?
there was. I mean, that's a rumor. That's not
Yeah.
something they said in like the
Mhm.
twid. So
I don't know. I think it'd be cool to have like I don't know what they would call it because I don't think you could really call it Pantheon
no,
since
they
we
could
already
call it
have
Pantheon.
Pantheon stuff.
No, the Pantheon could be
Maybe, I guess.
the umbrella of like this activity.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
can
I mean,
call it
yeah.
like they could just say Pantheon dot dungeon or something. I don't care. Just give me
Mhm.
Pantheon with like someone in my chat a few months
Okay.
ago was like, hey, they should make a Pantheon, but not with the bosses, but with all of the puzzles.
Yeah.
Where like, you do like exhibition, you could do Verity, you could do whatever the dungeons have like the second encounter in Garden of Salvation, all those encounters that are kind of team based oriented that
Mechanics.
aren't really mechanic based ones that
Heavily
aren't really just a
mechanics.
boss. That could be interesting for Pantheon 2. It might
Give me
not be
Spire
as
back.
difficult, but like yes, so that's another thing. Like a lot of people, including myself, thought we might not get the
Yeah.
raise back of Leviathan, but they could
That'd be nice.
pull out like we have the foundation. We have the foundation of a Pantheon that we could really access. I still feel that what was that thing we had on Leviathan when it came back? The version of it, the dark one.
Oh. Yeah.
The what?
I always thought that version of Leviathan was a great foundation or a great hub world for Pantheon.
Yeah.
Don't know how it would work, but you should be able to go in there and just pick, which version
Even
you
if
want to
they
go
brought
through.
back, okay, even if they brought back Leviathan like regular, like the old one, let's put it like I don't know, it's a bubble in time, whatever. You can spin it however you want with Destiny. But you remember how nobody used it, but maybe they could make it more interesting this way. Remember how they had doors in
Yeah, that's what I'm
Pantheon?
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dog door.
Well,
Yeah, bring back
in
that.
Leviathan, it has the doors. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They
Yeah,
should use that
exactly.
as a
Bring back the
foundation,
doors
and you
instead.
go
Yeah,
through
instead
each
of being
door for a different
encounters.
Pantheon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool, and it would fit because that whole ship is very like Roman Empire
Yeah.
inspired, right? So like
But I
I think
kind
it'd
of
be
like what you were kind of hinting at with a moment in time. Like I would kind of be really excited to see a Pantheon version. I don't know how they could do it. There's probably no way they can do it from a technical standpoint. But I've always thought it could be cool if they could figure out a way to dump the player base into a moment in time of a day one raid from a meta pass. Like say you could go into Scourge of the Past and you were in the sandbox of Scourge of the Past at that time, but only there. So you could experience
Okay.
now.
Okay. So for example, let's say you take the day one back in the day, or do you want like specific people encounters, or you're talking about like just broad general?
I was just saying just broad because like we've gone the
Okay.
Destiny 2 has gone through a lot of eras. Like just thinking of
Yeah.
like Leviathan with like Cold Heart or like Cluster Bomb Rockets or something
Yeah.
like that in that old era. Like it'd be interesting to see like even original Garden where it was like all about Izanagi's and Wendigo, for example.
Yes.
All
I
those
remember
old
that.
eras that we don't have anymore. It'd be interesting if they tweak that. There's a lot they
Crown
could do.
Fourth Horseman.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Or
Oh
they could do Crown
man.
with Mountaintop Days, Anarchy Mountaintop,
Yeah. Luna factions.
Luna faction
Just
spam.
saying
Yeah.
infinite reloading.
I know they can never do it because somehow the coding would spill into the rest of the game and it would just
Oh,
break
100%.
everything. But like,
Well, yes, but no. Do you remember in Pantheon when it came out for VoW? Do you know the VoW boss, Rolk? Was it Rolk? I think it's Rolk.
you mean him jumping off the map?
You could push him off the map, but you couldn't do that in the regular raid. It was
Oh,
just
could
for
you
It was
not?
just that version.
No, it was just that version. You could not he wouldn't die in the regular version.
I didn't
He
know
would just
that.
come back. But yeah, in Pantheon you could push him off. That was a strat, right? And then he would die. But like
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, it was just in that version. Other than that, it wouldn't work.
I just assumed people didn't do it because
It's easy to
was
sort
it
him.
needed?
It's just easy to sort him. You could just go and rock
Yeah,
him with swords.
Pantheon was harder, right? No. From what I think Mitch was like, no, you cannot do that. I have to talk to Mitch, but like, yeah, you couldn't push him off the map in regular version. You could only do that in Pantheon. It was also the easiest way to kill him. It
Yeah.
was just push him off. Well, not push him off, but like make him run after you and run off the map.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Did you ever do that, Dan? Did you ever like do a yeeting of Rogue?
So I think Dunes attempted it a couple of times when we were rocking Pantheon, but I don't think we ever got it to work. I think he would always like skate out there and then like just kind of like be on a sheet of glass, and you're like, God damn it! Like why we're trying so hard to cheat this thing? Why is it not working? And like
it was
yeah,
very
we just
difficult.
ended up.
I never
Take 'em
did it
out.
myself. I was helping some people do. It was like the last week of Pantheon being running, and I never forget. I was helping them. They needed 6, and I just joined to help them finish off week 3 and week 4.
Right.
And they couldn't get. It was on week 4. They couldn't get past Rogue, but their buddy was like, "I got this. Stand back. Stand back. I got this. We're not trying this anymore." And I was like, "We had it. We almost had it. Just do the normal we were doing like Divinity and Sleeper or something like that. We got this." Oh, and like Nighthawk. And they were like, "Time's wasted. We got to get to Nezzy. We got to get to Riven." And it was like, "I got this." And for the next 45 minutes, I just sat there on the little like the ledge by the ride. I just sat there talking to chat, just watching him over and over, just say, "Oh, he was a little bit off to the left,
Yeah.
a little bit to the right.
He didn't hit the right pixel.
He didn't hit the right pixel. He did. Oh,
yeah.
I know. I wasn't close enough I wasn't on the third step. I was on the fourth step. Oh, my bad. And then, but after about 40 minutes, I finally saw I finally saw it, and I just saw him go off my map, and then go off the map at the bottom, and then 10 seconds later, the chest spawns, and I was like, "This was worth it. This was content just to see it.
It was.
This is worth it."
Well, like
It wasted so much of my time because I was so like, "Yo, we kept doing it legit and kept dying during Final Stand because that Final Stand was brutal and -20."
Yeah, it was.
And they were like, "Okay, we just are. I don't care. I'm just gonna cheese it." And I was like, "You know what? This isn't my team.
Yeah.
I'm just here to be a 6.
Yeah.
You do what you want to do." And
I
I
was
was like,
lucky.
when it happened, I was like,
Yeah.
"Huh."
Yeah.
40 minutes, that's some aged Gouda, my guy. Like
Never
that's
thought I'd actually see it.
I was lucky. I did mine with Mitch, and Mitch had like a core team, and he would run like 2 or 3 people at a time. I think it was 2. Anyway, but he had a core team of people, right? But like they had that strat down to pat.
They
Like
had the
they
yeet strat?
had it. Yeah, the yeet him off the map. They had it down to pat. Like sometimes it would mess up because game being the game,
Yeah.
but usually it would be like 1 or 2 try, and then he would yeet off the map and we'd be done. It was like technically it was
See,
like one of
that's the same
quickest
thing they
encounters.
said. Like obviously Mitch was for
It's
real.
Mitch, right? It's
But
Mitch.
they also
Mitch.
were like, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing. You know what? We're out of here. We're out of here in 2 tries." And I was like, after about 20 minutes, I said, "I thought you said this person knows what they're doing." You know. And he kept blaming everyone else. At one time he was like,
Oh no.
someone was like sitting at the bottom of the stairs and he was like, "He's too close to him. Get away. He's too close to him. He's aggravating to you." And I was like, "We are down here dancing and just sitting in our chairs reading our books. We are not bothering you.
Yeah.
Do what you said you were great at."
Yeah.
And then obviously he went into the whole, "Normally this always works after 2 tries. Normally I'm good at this."
Several women have heard that in their life.
Oh god, don't start that.
So from that smooth transition to
very smooth.
Like there wasn't a lot of news this week, but
No.
we did have a
Very quiet.
twin. It was fairly quiet. The crickets heard crickets in some instances. But we did get some new information from Bungie via the Twid. We found out that the class glaives in swords are going to be kind of like stuck or stay in the way that they are. They said over the last few weeks, Guardians have discovered an interesting little bug that came about with Heresy's launch. On the back end, we shifted to a new way of creating weapons and rewards to help streamline some of the development process. While moving into this new paradigm, class lockouts of the exotic glaives and a handful of swords were mistakenly removed. We've been seeing some great celebrations with this removal of the constraints. Our first reactions were focused more towards fixing the issue, as we wanted to retain strong class-based fantasies within Destiny, and the removal of class locks muddies the water a bit. As an example, it's a bit weird to see a warlock or a hunter spawning a mini bubble, or seeing a titan running like a ninja. After some discussions with team members, we've arrived at a new decision. We're going to let this ride. A fun example of a bug becoming a feature. How are you guys feeling about this bit of news from the Twid?
I haven't
really
tried them
depends.
at all, but I think it's a cool idea, but I will agree with Dan. I'm gonna let him finish because I didn't try them, but I think in theory it sounds cool. We'll see what happens. Probably something's gonna break, but we'll see.
It will break. No, I think it's interesting because you could make the argument that the swords and the glaives and all that was very specific to class, to a very specific class, hunter, warlock, or titan. Those being given to everyone could be argued as the final nail in the coffin for
For
like
class identity?
very class identity. Yeah, the last thing that we've kind of had
Mm,
was prismatic, kind of because with 3.0 subclasses and now prismatic and now the class items kind of like being everyone, it's at least for me very obvious that the core of Destiny as a player is not your warlock, your hunter, or your titan. It's just really your guardian
Yeah.
now.
yeah.
And maybe your guardian has a few strengths and weaknesses, and that's what it is. But you're not really. You're just a guardian now. You might specialize in something, but you're a guardian. You're not like a hunter. And I don't know if the community likes that. I don't personally mind it because this is not a hill I personally die on.
Yeah.
But just looking at the community's response over the last since Witch Queen in regards to giving grenades, giving all this other stuff to all the classes versus, your Titan had this grenade, your Hunter had this grenade, your Warlock had this skill, and now they all have pretty much everything.
Yeah.
You're kind of just a Guardian, and you're
Yeah.
not you're not like a Warlock and Titan anymore. So it's interesting. I don't know. I can't think of anything else that is class specific anymore. And those two things being given to everyone is going to make some interesting builds and break things.
Mhm.
But if you're someone who plays Destiny and you really, really are like a diehard class identity player, you can make the argument that there's really no class identity anymore outside of like, I'm using this class because it has a specific exotic or
Right.
build that I want to use,
Or I'm just more comfortable with the movement,
Yeah.
for
or the
example.
movement. Yeah.
Because
Well,
the movement is
Like
still
imagine
very
if the movement was like everyone. Like imagine you could do like double jump or triple
Right.
jump on all three classes. How many hunters would all of a sudden go to like a warlock or titan?
Right.
Or how many hunters wanted to Icarus dash? Or how many titans wish they could Icarus dash like Twilight Garrison? Obviously, like
Yeah.
all this stuff,
Yep.
if they change the movement, okay. The movement's probably the only thing left that allows for class identity.
The
I-
supers in the movement. That's pretty much it. That's
Yeah,
what
I
you
was
have.
gonna say you actually made a pretty strong argument for some class identity stuff within within the class exotics. Like
That'd be the only thing now.
yeah.
But like a lot of the class exotics now let you use other like hunter stuff or warlock stuff on everybody. Like you can
Mhm.
use Cento steps with everybody. You can use, if I'm not mistaken, Stargazer scales with everyone.
I wasn't thinking so much the class specific like the class item itself. I was thinking like, hold on. We have
Will we ever bring in another guardian? I mean, isn't the lore kind of, I don't know. I know the lore kind of has this where we're all guardians, but
Yeah.
isn't it also been like, don't they I don't know. It's weird because don't they treat our guardian and ours in the sense of like every player,
Yeah.
our guardian as the one true guardian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the one. We're the Neo.
We're the Neo.
Yeah.
I
I was thinking more along the lines of like, so osmiomancy gloves. Like that's very specific for warlocks. Warlocks seem to be the little guys, right? Like they have
they are.
they have a bunch of little guys. That has actually become a pretty strong part of their identity now. They're also like
It's turrets.
they're also like the healer. When you think about like like
Not
the
as much, but nowadays, but yes.
I mean like with the addition of things like Speaker's Sight, you have a stronger healing identity, which also plays into the little guy like
The little guy
because you're throwing a turret out there and it's a little guy that's out on its own.
Yeah.
So like there are things that still kind of ring true for some class identity. I guess it depends on which class that you're talking about too.
There still is
I mean, they
some.
still
You're right.
have
Yeah.
that. No, they still have that. Like Warlock is support. Whether
Mhm.
it be heal or like turrets or like making ammo or like whatever, right? Warlock has always pretty much been support and it still fits in that with some specific exotic, like
Yeah.
the turret stuff, the linear fusion stuff. I can't remember
Yeah.
weird element, but that one
The Xeno tab.
that yeah, that Thank you, Cenotaph. So like it still feels that Titan still is like big brawly guy.
Mm-hmm. Burst
It,
damage.
it or yeah,
Big
burst damage
punch.
or big brawl. Like
Mm-hmm.
you go into and just fist fights everybody. Like that's all you do. And then Hunter is more like sneaky, a little bit more like
Mm-hmm.
agile, and so on and so forth. So they still kind of have that overall.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, like a lot of the subclasses that used to have very specific things that got removed with Prismatic.
Mhm.
I was talking to Dan about that actually yesterday when we
Mm-hmm.
were running the contest. One thing that I miss about Solar Warlock, and one of the things that kind of also makes me a little bit annoyed whenever I want to run Solar Warlock, like,
Mm-hmm.
well, before the rework, Warlock had this ability where on Solar, if you consumed your grenade, it would become a healing nade.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It wasn't like you either had the healing nade or you had a damage nade. It
Yeah.
was you had a damage nade, you could like hold it, consume it, and it would become a healing nade. And I
Right.
really miss that ability. It really pisses me off that this is not something we still have on Warlock. Like,
Oh,
don't
that
give it to other
it didn't
subclasses,
become. It
right? Like,
was. It's no longer an option. It's now a binary
it's no
choice.
longer an option. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
either you have the healing nade or you have a damage grenade. And it's really like to me that's really frustrating. Because, like I
I had
wish
to give it to
Warlock had
everyone
kept
that had
it.
the healing. They were like, we can't make all 3 classes have the
Yeah,
charging thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
and fine, and that's okay, but, like, keep it on Warlock. Make it a Warlock thing. Warlock
Mm-hmm.
can still have the damage nade, and they can still have the healing nade if they consume it, and that makes it even a stronger support. Because, like, I can still do damage with my nade if I want to because I still have, I don't know, whichever I want to use,
Yeah.
or I can be support, like, somebody's almost dying, I'm gonna consume it,
Mm-hmm.
throw it to them, and then they're gonna survive, right? So it's like these little details that I feel like they could bring back a little bit, like some stuff that were very specific to some classes. They could like wedge them back in and be like, yeah, we're gonna keep. It's a detail. It's not that big. It's not big of a deal, but it is like because if I run a full support well warlock, I
Yeah.
cannot do damage with my grenade. I'm like sitting there, sitting ducks, and I can just like throw a healing nade, and I'm like, I feel like time. It's
Mm-hmm.
useful, but it's like I can't have both world, which is a little bit frustrating. And I
Yeah.
feel like
Yeah.
if they brought back some of these details for like each of these subclasses on each of these classes, it would make it bring back that very specific like personality of each classes
Right.
or that very specific like you're playing a hunter has this very specific thing that even on prismatic other classes don't have.
Yeah.
Same thing with titan, same thing with war. I feel like that would bring back the personality of each of these classes a little bit. Maybe not
Mm-hmm.
completely, but it would bring
It
back a little bit
could.
of it.
Yeah.
And that would be nice. It would be nice. Don't know if it's possible, but it would be nice.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of people, I say a lot of people, but it's probably a very small amount. There also seems to be every time they add new exotics, new fragments and aspects, I've noticed, at least for the past year or two, that there seems to be a growing minority. I'll say a growing minority. A growing minority of that class's main
Mm-hmm.
who is like, okay, more. I don't want to see more of just more invis. Like a lot of people are not really enjoying. I love On the Prowl,
Oh yeah.
but a lot of hunters really are like, okay, another invis thing, cool. I don't need more. Same thing with the warlocks I've seen. That some people are like, okay, now I can have 18 buddies around me and more
Yeah.
pets. Okay, cool. And then Titans are like, okay, another way to punch or another way to just be a face tanker. It's
Mm-hmm.
interesting that like I personally like that they're doubling down on these kind of things, but it also seems to go against what the majority of that main class prefers,
Mm-hmm.
where they want to have some of that tool, but they also want to have other ways of making that kit interesting and unique instead of just this thing is going to let you punch more. This thing's
Right.
just going to make you have another way of going invisible. This thing is just going to
Mhm.
let you have another arc soul or a buddy or something around you, which is really interesting. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, but I've just noticed that for a lot of the fragments that they put out, especially with Prismatic as well, and a lot of the most recent the fragments that came out, I didn't really see a lot of interest around boat charge. Obviously, that's changed, but as
Mm-hmm.
far as the other two, a lot of the community under those videos. I remember looking at them on YouTube, and folks were like, "Great, another XYZ. I already have 18 of those, or 18 ways of making that happen.
Yeah.
That's not going to interest me." And it's interesting when we talk about class identity because it makes sense for class identity for you to create stuff that's going to allow you to double down on that class ability or class identity, or change your class identity to like do that thing but different, or do that thing plus the other ways you know make that whatever happen already. I
I
don't know if
think
it's something I've just noticed, but I just find it interesting.
I think you're right. I think that what might be the case is that before Prismatic, because Prismatic kind of took a lot of the different like subclasses that existed and kind of just jumbled it up together,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's like a big, gumbo of a bunch of stuff, which is great. It
Didn't
has
someone call it Jack of all trades on the podcast? I think we just called it
yeah,
that one.
something like that. Yeah, exactly. It is
Master of
good.
none.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's good at everything, but it's not great at everything, which is
Right.
fine. That's fair. But it also has, I think it was Tidley was talking about that, or she added to that. But like when you used to have like single subclasses, like Void or Arc or Solar or whatever,
hmm
they had a like everything was very like you work for a specific goal. For example, Void Warlock, you worked for Devour, right? You would set up your
Yeah.
build to work for Devour to make sure that your Devour uptime was always coming back up, right? Like you would try to get a kill as quick as possible so your Devour would come kick on all the time and reset your timer. I'm using Void because it's the quickest one that I can think of.
Right.
But and like for Strand, it was like getting your melee back, getting your grenade back, getting your threadlings or getting your suspension, whatever. It was like all of these things you were trying to like harmonize
Yeah.
and synchronize all of your things towards that like one single goal that would keep you alive or that would help in your fight. Or Prismatic doesn't really have that because while they do work together, it's not as like synchronized. Like there's not as much synchronicity. It still works. It still works really well, but it also doesn't work towards that one single goal. It's all like I get that, I get that, I get that, I get that, but it doesn't
Yeah.
like it's not fluid together. It works. It's not fluid together.
Right.
But Prismatic is so strong still, even though it doesn't work together as well as the other subclasses. It still works together, but it's not as fluid as the other subclasses. It's so strong because they want to put emphasis on it because it's a new thing, and I fully get it. But I feel like because it's so strong, everybody wants to use it, which is fair. But we also kind of lost that kind of harmony and fluidity of the other classes. And now Bungie is like, okay, well, since everybody's rerunning Prismatic pretty much, we're going to lean into what the specific subclasses things that we have, which is like for Warlock, turrets. You want an ice turret? You got an
That's what I'm
ice turret.
saying.
You want an arc turret? You got an arc turret. You want a like solar turret? You got a solar turret. You don't have a void one, but you have like a
Oh,
thing
well,
that
don't y'all chowder
sucks
oh
people up.
gods.
Yeah, it's not a turret per se, but yeah, it's similar
Okay.
idea, right? It's similar idea. Like you want a buddy, you got a buddy. You buddies have all the
Right.
I
buddies,
want
my
to see
friend.
I was gonna say I want to see somebody make somehow. You probably got to have a rally flag. I want to see someone have the maximum amount of
Buddies.
buddies
Yeah.
on their character. I just want to
Yeah,
see what it looks like.
yeah,
They just look like a
because you
solar
can get.
system.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know, man. It's kind of crazy,
I'm gonna
right? But
need like
anyway, so
no
like,
time to explain all that.
Yeah.
but so they did that for like, and so for Warlock it's the buddy, and like for Hunter it's something else, and so on and so forth. So instead of trying to innovate or try to like go into a slightly different way, they're like, this is the easiest way to get new exotics out, and this is the easiest way to kind of build into what's already existing. So we're just gonna release more stuff with um that type of like what's the word I'm looking for? That type of building block. Let's call it that. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
you're right. I think that they kind of just this is the easiest way to do this. And again, it's okay. It's okay. It's the easiest way to do it, but it doesn't breed innovation. And I think that's something that Bungie kind of has lost a little bit in the last few years. It's Bungie used to be great at innovating and kind of bringing new ideas and trying new things, but like in the last few years, they kind of stopped doing that, and it's a little bit
You wouldn't
sad.
say that Prismatic is pretty innovative,
I would
even if
say
it's not like insane.
It
I would
That
say
part,
that that's
yes.
insanely innovative. Like, especially with the
Okay,
different
okay.
purposes of
Subclass-wise,
everything, you know?
yes.
Like,
it's
Subclass-wise,
still
yes.
really interesting that like all of the Transcendence / Solar Arc Void Strand stuff can somehow work together without breaking. Sometimes I
The
still am
subclasses,
surprised.
yes. In terms of activity,
Oh, I mean,
story stuff,
no,
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. If we're talking about subclasses, yes,
no,
100%.
Yeah.
it's the subclass
But
stuff.
I'm
I
talking
think
about
that's
the
I
game
think
as a
that's
whole.
the thing. Like, when you
Game as a
start
whole.
talking about the game as a whole under an umbrella thing and saying that there's not innovation happening,
I don't know.
that's
There's parts of the
yeah.
game that are still very innovative,
Parts are
like
really
100%.
innovative.
Yeah, 100%.
I get what you're like. A lot of the times they're playing things pretty safe. Like, when it comes
Yeah.
to like,
Unfortunately.
especially when it comes to like how power corrupt we are. I think that that's something that I've harkened back to. Like, we were smacked in the mouth really hard around the final shape, and that was something that like some creators. I remember Dado putting out a video about it, being like, I like this. This is like what I'm into. Like,
Yeah.
hit me hard so that I can like try to get better. And then like the community revolted because they were like, everything's too tough now, and so they ended up repealing back some of that. But
You think it would have been fine if they just waited, because a lot of that revolting was before we got like the prismatic exotic class items and stuff. It's like before we got to deal with like a lot of these, like looking back at like those early days of Final Shape and looking at like all of the artifact stuff we have now.
Yeah.
That version of Final Shape is way better to deal with all this artifact and all this new stuff we've gotten. It won't be as busted if we had that sandbox to play with it.
Yeah. I kind of wish that they had stuck by their guns a little bit and been like, hey, like, it's going to stay this way, and like,
I think
get good. But I don't, probably monetarily they couldn't do that at the time.
I agree with you guys, but I think that specific things needed to maybe. So here's the thing. I think what happened is that, people were so used to being able to like quote unquote one phase a bunch of stuff.
Right.
And then you slap them in the face. Yeah, steamroll stuff. And then you slap them in the face and be like, oh no, you can't do that anymore. In any activity.
Yeah.
I think that's where they went wrong. If it had been like, oh, like harder content, you can't one phase stuff anymore, right? Like GMs go back to what they used to be in the very beginning. Really fucking arduous, really fucking difficult, so on and so forth. That would have been one thing. To be like, oh, contest dungeon, really difficult, so on and so forth. That's fair, that's fine. Raids, master raids, really difficult, so on and so forth, whatever. But then when you give people, like, I will bring back this this specific example, because to this day I still hate this fucking place. Neomuna. Neomuna to me is the perfect example of Bungie not understanding where they need to apply difficult content and where they need to apply quote unquote easy content.
In a patrol space is crazy.
Like, it's a patrol space. I should not have to like spend so much time killing one goddamn enemy to finish a bounty. It's a patrol space. Why am I like running for my life? Well, not anymore, but why was I running for my life when a freaking thresher appeared in the sky?
That thresher is still giving me
right?
PTSD.
It's these things where I'm just like,
it's so quiet, and all of a sudden, boom.
Yeah.
Boom, and you're dead. You're just dead. There's no chance of surviving that. You're just dead. But like, that's a great example to me. I think Bungie kind of lost like the kind of lost the thread of where to put difficult content and where to put like a regular content. I'm not going to call it easy, but I'm going to call it regular content, right? Regular difficulty content. And I think that's where people were like, no, we don't want difficult content on everything. We want difficult content on some things. I still want to be able to go into a destination and kill stuff without having to put a full mag in that. Like, why would I need to do that? That's ridiculous. I need to do bounties. Well, I don't need to do bounties, but like, I want to do bounties, or I just want to mess around on the planet and like grab materials.
Yeah.
We don't have that laddering system, which is what I've noticed. Like, if you've ever thought about the game and talking with patrols, I've always said that the problem with some of the difficulty is that as a player, you can't tell me normal, hard, challenging sweat your life away. You can't look at that ladder and tell me what content falls in line with that, which is a
It's
problem.
very true.
You know, if you want to like just casually play, you're supposed to go to like patrols and maybe lost sectors and stuff. If you want to like start trying to play some somewhat challenging content, that's where your nightfalls and stuff come in. If you want to, do some more challenging content, but with more people, you're supposed to have raids. And then when you want to play the really challenging stuff and really try and sweat your life away, that's where something like Grandmaster Nightfalls and Master Raids and even whatever the maximum loss sector, I don't know, Grandmaster loss or whatever, those are where you're supposed to like do it. But like the problem is for me was why can Liminality GM be way more difficult than War in a Nothing GM? Like you look at War in a Nothing GM, you're like, this is a cakewalk. Then you do another GM and you're like, I'm in here for 45 minutes. Why is there no like
We talked about that earlier.
Why does it feel that these are both GMs?
Yeah.
But the experience is drastically different. Same for raids.
I will
It's
I
just
will bring
really
back
interesting.
my minute of salt from earlier, and I will say this. I will die on this hill. We talked about this. Liminality and like the last few strikes that came out since Witch Queen, I want to say. Yeah, Witch Queen.
Yeah.
They have been made. I will die on this hill. I'm so sorry, people. You will not make me change my mind. These strikes. So Lightblade, Liminality. There's another one on
I won't count Hypernet because it's weird.
No,
It
Hypernet
doesn't
is
feel that
okay,
way.
but it's well, I still count it because okay, here's my opinion on this. My opinion is that these strikes were not made to be good strikes. They were made to be difficult GM. And I will, like I said, I will die on this hill. They were not made to be good strikes. Good strikes, in my opinion, I'll give you examples. Navota, Disgrace,
Okay.
great strike. Saber, great strike.
Saber.
The other one, the Devil's Lair, great strike. Funny, they're all Destiny 1 strikes. But anyway,
how much of that is nostalgia though? Like
I didn't play D1. I did not
nostalgic.
play D1. So
Okay,
for me, there's no nostalgia there. There's no nostalgia
Yeah.
for me. It is just a great strike. They're just really well made.
Yeah.
There was another one that was really good. Anyway, I can't remember, but there's a few that are really good because they're just great strikes. The rhythm of them is great. The combat moments in them are great. You go from one to the next, and like it just flows really well into each other. But they are still not really super easy. There's still like really moments in there where you can fully wipe in any of these, right? Like any of them, you have moments where the team is not careful. You can just wipe and go back to orbit and start all over again. But to me, the new strikes, they are not great strikes. They're okay, but they were made with the idea because they were made when GM started to become popular. They were made, and when Bungie shifted from raids being like the end all be all content to GMs being that end all be all content, right? And that's when they shifted to making strikes that were very difficult at GM levels instead of making great strikes that transposed really well to GM. And I hate that. I hate that. And then they started to rework the old strikes that were very quick GMs, like a Shadows, absolute. They mangled that strike. I'm so sorry. They mangled Shadows. It's a horrible strike. It used to be a fun strike. It used to be a quick strike, even a quick GM, and there was nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
They did
nothing
that with
wrong with having
too. There's a lot of Inverted Spire. And a bunch of those.
I'll go back to something that I saw earlier in chat with.
I don't like those.
With Subsistence Sasquatch. He's like, I think the sandbox is holistically the best it's been. It's just a 10-year-old game that's been figured out. And I think like
that is another problem. Yeah.
I think part
very true.
of like what you're touching on is that like, so these were a lot of those were strikes that came out with Destiny 2 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
And a totally different sandbox too.
Different sandbox. And like, I think maybe to like freshen those up for people and to freshen that up for the audience that's changing, or maybe doesn't change all that much, skews fairly older and millennial, and it like they're doing things to spice things up for that audience that that may be unpopular, that may stretch out some of the sections, but that change the encounter enough to make it interesting. Like the things that you're talking about, like I understand, like they're not necessarily your favorite things in the game, and that some of the changes irk you because they did change that strike. But I also, when I'm playing them, I'm not typically having the conversation in my head of like, oh, this used to be better. Like I used to be able to do this. I'm like trying to adapt to the game and play the puzzle as it is. Then. Say what?
You're a better person than I am.
Well, it's not some. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, like, saying that. You know,
I know, but I understand what you're saying. But I think that what ended up happening, and like I said, Bungie shifted from their end game content being raids to it being GMs, right?
Yeah.
Because, and I get it, I fully get it, because it's way easier to get 3 people together than it is to get 6 people together. Like,
it's also
let's be
way
real.
easier to make content for that than
exactly. Yes. So exactly. So I have no. Well, I have a little bit of a problem, but I'm over it technically. Like I'm fine with the idea of like end game content is not raids anymore. It is GMs. That's fine. That's fair. That's all dandy. I have no issue with that. And again, ask me, Seth, you want to do a Disgrace GM? Absolutely, I will do a Disgrace GM with you. You want to do a Saber? You want to do a Devil's there? I will drop what I'm doing and I will do it with you because I enjoy the heck out of those strikes and GMs. Ask me to do a Liminality? No.
See,
no.
For me,
I refuse to do that.
And I've talked about that one specifically on stream before. Take a drink. But it was more the modifier that I disliked than the actual activity of running
modifiers
Liminality.
Don't help. No.
It was specifically the modifier that forced you into a playstyle that, you know.
I just don't like it as a general thing.
Yeah.
But it's more like that. It's more like I feel like these GMs were not made to be fun. And like, and I say fun because you can have really difficult content that is fun to do. Like one doesn't have to be without the other.
Right.
Like again, Disgrace is difficult, but to me it is very fun. And again, maybe some hate Disgrace. That's fair. Like everybody likes to dislike strikes and GMs, right? And that's more than okay. But I just feel like these specific things were made not to be fun in any way, shape, or form, but to be absolutely miserable at GM level. And that's what I hate about it. I feel like the concept was started from a point where instead of being fun and then scaled to difficulty, it was made to be difficult. And then the fun part was just never involved in the building of it or the creation of it. And I really hate that. To me, there's a wild difference between strikes, and even the one from D2 when it came out, whichever. Even from these to like the last few ones from ever since Witch Queen, there's a stark difference in how they're made and how they feel. Even as regular strikes, not even as GM, just as regular strikes, they're wildly different, and I feel like you can feel it when you play them, and I hate that. And I'm like, why, why? I don't know. It's just because I remember, and I agree with the fact what you're saying with the modifiers. The modifiers can definitely make or break. 100%. I will agree with that.
I think that's my experience. Like
and I agree with that because I remember there was a season.
Either,
yeah.
No. There was a season where they had this really cool modifiers. I don't remember the name of it, but one of them was for arc and one of them was for stasis. And if you run arc or stasis while running these strikes, you would get your super back really quickly. You would get your abilities back really quickly. I don't remember what it's called, like clean or something. I don't know, whatever. And I remember these were really amazing modifiers if you had a good build for them. And I think I reset my rank at Zavala like 5 times in a week running Disgrace with that specific modifier because it was so fun. And like I think that's another thing. Like Bungie wants to make hard content for players. I agree with that. I have no issue with that because a lot of people want difficult content, and that's fair.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But instead of making fun difficult content, they just make really difficult content. And it's like, but where's the fun part? This is a game. I'm supposed to have fun in there. I don't mind sweating. I don't mind playing my life. I don't mind, having to adjust my strats or my way of playing a little bit, so forth. But when you make it not fun, then what's the point? It's a game. What's the point? I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but that's just where I stand with that.
I also think that's we're 10 years in on a live service game, like on a treadmill, and like that's.
I didn't play D1.
No, I think I'm not specifically you. I think
I
it's
know
just
what you're
like the
saying.
community.
No, for real, for sure.
Yeah. So like,
it's still a long time with D2.
It's a long time with
way older than D1. Like
yeah.
twice.
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree with that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like 7.5 years to 3.5 now. Almost. When Apollo comes out, it'll be 8 years.
Yeah, man.
So
which is coming out in only a few months. Well, the GM talk that we just had is a good segue into like next week GMs kick off.
Oh, I can complain more. Let's go.
Well, we have from the looks of it, I'm looking at Braytech right now, and it looks like we're going to have Hypernet Current, Lake of Shadows, the Insight Terminus, Grandmaster Heist Battleground Mars, as well as Psyops Battleground Moon, Warden of Nothing, Psyops Battleground Cosmodrome, and the Scarlet Keep. There's one that is classified, so I don't know necessarily which one that is. But
I was in the
they're
game
saving Lotus Eater, I guess. They don't want people to know when to farm Lotus Eater.
Yeah.
That's the only one I care about. Like,
yeah.
I'm gonna do my Conquer, but the one I want to know about is when can I farm Lotus Eater? That's it.
Yeah. So like they're coming back. So gyms are coming back next week, and they're bringing back Pally, right? Which is something people have been asking for a long time, because we all remember how much of a terror Palindrome was back in the day. It was a really strong hand cannon. It was a really good hand cannon. I remember running it a lot back in the day. It was like really strong, really smooth, like a really nice weapon to use. And last time it was around was season 15. I was looking on
15. Wow.
Foundry. Yeah, D2 Foundry. And it was not even available at Zavala through like the old weapons, right? Because a lot of the other weapons that were not in still available at Zavala. But that one was never available at Zavala, even the base version of it. If you hadn't gotten one in season 15 or whatever, I think it was season 15, based on what D2 Foundry is saying, then you were just out of luck. Too bad, so sad. You didn't get one. You didn't get one. They're bringing it back, and then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, cool. They're bringing back, but it's going to be an arc weapon. That's an interesting choice. Okay. And then I was looking at it earlier, and I still have the tabs open, comparing the old version to the new version. Overall, there's 3 less perks possible on the weapon. That's already one thing. And then looking at the new version compared to the old version, most of the perks that you used to be able to get on that weapon are not available. And I'm looking at the perk pool on the new weapon, and to me, it's not that interesting.
Were there any perks that were like very specific to Void? There weren't any of those that back then, right? Like not like destabilizing or repulsor and stuff.
No, that didn't exist back in the day at all, right? People tend to run they would tend to run Ragefinder, Rampage, High Impact on the last column, and then they could run Killing Wind, Outlaw, Overflow was really interesting also on that one. And you had like Stats for All, and then the Bottomless Grief back in the day that you were available.
Oh yeah, Bottomless Grief.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's just not available anymore. And then also just the mag weapons, and then the barrels. The barrels are the same, but there's less mag options. Well, I think it's because they removed like Alloy Magazine. Alloy Magazine is just not available. Or something like that. One of them got removed. So I don't know. I'm looking at it and I'm like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like this possible like perk mix is really interesting to me. It's a bit of a letdown.
It might just be good for PvP again. I know a lot of people used it Pally back in the day specifically for PvP.
Well, so Rangefinder's not available anymore, and it's not as good as it used to be too, to be fair.
No. We need to like, is there like an Eye of the Storm, moving target, things like that on there?
There's snapshot sites. You can get Master of Arms. You can get Opening Shot.
Master of
Magnificent Howl.
Arms
Yep,
On
you
on
can get that.
Pally?
Yep.
on the adept weapons, what are the options? Um, what are the options for the perks that you can just kind of swap out?
What do you mean?
I don't think you can do that with those.
I don't think so. You can get the
There's
mods.
yeah, the mods
but
that you
you
can kind
cannot.
of slot in.
Well, you get the regular ones as ballistics, tactical, anti-flinch,
Right.
CQC optics, low high,
That's what I'm
the
looking at. Like
thunder.
what in that sandbox would you be able to use to maybe like offset some of the
I don't know. I mean, it has explosive payload, which is still good.
yeah.
That's still a very strong perk on a hand
They're
cannon,
probably
no matter what.
explosive.
Yeah, you have elemental capacitor that can still be interesting. To the pain, outlaw. Outlaw's not as good as it used to be, but still. Recycled energy is a new
Elemental
one.
capacitor would be good for PvP. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
With it being
Recycled
arc
energy is
too.
reloading after defeating target, grants energy to your lowest chargeability. Not ready for PvP. And then you have closing time, which is the improved range, accuracy, handling
Oh,
power.
well,
So
there
that's
you
Well,
go.
one
Yeah.
thing. I don't know.
ballistics adds like a +6 to range and a +6 to stability.
Yeah, but hand cannons for a few years ago got their range capped because that
Okay.
was
Yeah,
very
they did.
oppressive. So
Yeah.
range isn't as big of a must. You can't just go
Mhm.
like 100 range anymore and reap the benefits. So like on a Ward 40, I don't know what the cap is, but you can't. Some of the range stuff isn't worth it anymore. You're better off like going for like stability or handling, from what I've noticed.
Or like
So it might not be as good
Icarus
anymore.
grip. Icarus grip on that I could see.
Well, not even Icarus grip, because Icarus grip was like increased aim assist or like accuracy when in the air,
Mhm.
and they nerfed that as well.
Okay.
So I don't even know if you would go for that anymore.
It's really interesting. Yeah, I'm looking like at the perk pool, and to me, there's not many combinations that I find interesting as a player
Mhm.
compared to what it used to have, especially compared to what it used to have. Again,
There's
and also it's an arc weapon.
mhm.
There's nothing wrong with arc weapons, but it's an arc weapon, doesn't have volt shot. Why?
No volt shot.
That's really strange to me. That's very, very strange to me.
Yeah.
Why would you bring that back as an adept weapon also? Well, option of having an adept weapon and no volt shot on an arc weapon.
That's why
Why would
Locust
you?
Eater is easily the best GM weapon coming out, because it's void. So it'll
Mhm.
be really good for the void stuff that's coming out, well, that's being used this season and any future void seasons. And it gets shoot to loot, which is a fantastic choice for any special weapon. But it also gets repulsor brace and destabilizing rounds. Specifically,
Oh
destabilizing
yeah.
rounds is nutty already, and I'm hoping that destabilizing rounds on the rocket sidearm is equally as good as like some of the other weapons that destabilizing rounds is really good on. So it could be really, really good. That's why like I look at Pally and I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, but then I look at like Locust Eater and I'm like, this is probably the one that like I'm holding
Yeah.
out hope for, being
You
like,
just
this is
Mhm.
really, really, this is something like
I'm
once I
looking
get
at
to what I
it.
want, I'm putting it on my character, like
Yeah, I'm
instantly
looking at
using.
it and you sold me to it. I'm like, yeah, actually I would farm for that.
Absolutely,
But
especially in
the
the adept
Pally,
version.
Yeah.
yeah, but Pally, I don't know if I'm gonna farm for it. I don't see anything that makes it worth me farming whatever
So
GM it is.
something that I'll note here, because I'm looking at Braytex rotations, and this could be off. Like just
Wait, what did you say it started with?
so it starts with HyperNet Current next week. So
And
we
then
have and then after that we have the heist Battleground Mars on March 4th. This is according to
okay.
Braytech. We have
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Psyops
which
Battleground Cosmodrome, Lake of
mhm.
Shadows, Psyops
It's in
Battleground
order.
Moon. Yes, all of that in order. And then we have Palindrome come back around for um that classified one on April 22nd.
See, that's
The
interesting.
That's
classify would
interesting.
be
That's
okay, so you have
that's the
HyperNet
So
last week
it's
of the
Mars.
saying
9-week cycle.
there's a GM that's coming that isn't being told yet.
Yeah. And when does the new art act start? Does that start on April 1st?
April 1st.
And that's 1, 2. That's 3 weeks.
So you're
After
thinking that there might be a new story mission and or strike or battle, whatever, something new added.
Well, it's not showing in the seal in the game because I have the game open right now.
Right.
And like
So how many GMs are saying that you need to get to guild? Is it 8 or 9?
Well, since they made that change, it's 9.
I believe
Yeah.
so.
So
I'm saying if Seth looks at the GM stuff, is it showing 9 GMs to complete, or is it showing 8 currently?
8.
So then there's 1 missing.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's 4 out of 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Is
missing 1.
Dan going to put on a tinfoil hat like Sammy Cat now? Because
it's interesting. That is very interesting. It could be that they're bringing something back next act.
Maybe.
I can see that.
Was there a strike on the Dreadnought?
There were a few.
Well, there was a few.
Yeah.
There's the original Ala Cool, the Dark
Blade.
The light blade?
From the Dreadnought. So it could be that they're bringing back that strike. There's also Shield Brothers, I think, is there.
Yeah.
There. Shield Brothers.
Which we already had kind of like an allusion to that with the Kel's Vengeance, right? Like we had, we already had that. So I wouldn't expect them to go to that well again so quick.
I mean, maybe because it is easier for them to bring that back.
But then you gotta look at it. We don't actually. I mean, they gave us a Dreadnought. It wouldn't be past them to give us a Dreadnought strike.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would make sense because they've already worked on the environment, right?
Yeah. And there is the path, if I'm not mistaken, there is the path that you can take. I don't know if you can, I think it's a term, but there is a path in the Nether that you used to have to take, and you have to go to the left off to the side where there's like some flowing red blood or water. But you go off that side and it takes you to the Alacool Darkblade Strike if you progress through it, But you can't go there now because the turnback zone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like,
I didn't know that, but I mean, there's a reason that it's classified.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I didn't even notice. Even in the game, it's not even like.
And they're not showing all of them. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, it's just not there. It's just not there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if next act there's here's one strike. We're not giving you a dungeon. Here's a strike, and here's Alacool, a remastered, reimagined Alacool the Darkblade Strike or something. Yeah,
that would be cool.
It's gonna be on the Dreadnought.
Yeah,
okay.
That would be my assumption, like fitting in with the theme. But yeah, that's neat. That's a unique idea.
If they were to give us a strike, it would definitely be on the Dreadnought. I can't see it being anywhere else. So could be. Well, wouldn't Darkblade be the most popular?
I would think so, especially because of how it throws you into the mix, and there's nothing down there to really to hide behind. There's not
But at the same time, do we need Darkblade when now we have the Lightblade?
I don't think so.
The same model.
I don't think you would.
No, right?
Yeah. So
unless you wanted to do some sort of like light and dark thing going with like the Lightblade and the Darkblade, maybe. But
yeah,
if that's the case, you could do Shield Brothers, but I mean, in D1 we killed the Shield Brothers, but I don't know if Shield Brothers.
You can always bring Calgrath back again.
Yeah, I was like,
God,
yeah.
Please.
Please,
no.
But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. That's.
Well, I'm gonna keep my eye out on
April
22nd and see, or at least April 1st, because they might tell us about it April, before then,
or like the week beforehand.
Yeah,
they'll be like, "Hey, next week is Act 2.
Here's a new strike.
Here's what's coming." Yeah. The conversation has been lively today and has been great. But I want to send my man Dan off to sleep here soon. So let's ask a couple of questions that the community has submitted to us. Twitch.tv/Destiny Digest if you want to get your questions in. Like our friend Naptown Gaming. What's going to happen after the content in June comes out? What's next? So we
Is that
have
Apollo?
As far as, are we going to tinfoil hat this, or are we
let's
breaking NDA?
no, I don't know anything
I'm not
about
gonna break
NDA.
NDAs.
Yeah, I don't know
That's
anything
tinfoil
NDA.
at that. But wait, that's
I mean,
Apollo, right?
we have Apollo, and then we like
Yes, Apollo.
after Apollo, what do we have? What's the name of the other one? Behemoth. So like we have another year of content coming out, like, and they've like pretty much covered like that. Will have like fewer updates, right? Fewer sandbox updates, but they will be larger. It kind of reminds me of
yeah.
it kind of reminds me of like the Destiny 1 model, like around like House of Wolves, things like that.
Yeah.
Like
And the April update and all that.
yeah. That's it. That's what it feels like we're harkening back to. But yeah, I don't know. I'm eager to see like what happens over the next year, especially when leaning into like a Metroidvania style for Apollo. I want to see what that looks like. Especially like Nether is kind of like an interesting litmus test, I guess, because you do have some of those Metroidvania aspects, but you also then have stacked roguelite into all of that. Where like Metroidvania is more about like things being scattered around a map, and you can get to them at different points as you're able to upgrade and unlock. So I would love to see a more flowing version of that for Destiny. Like something.
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I was looking at like a very quick summary of that. They're getting like 2 updates, quote unquote. Like Apollo gets 2 sub story if you want.
Right.
You get Arsenal and you got Surge. Arsenal is summer and then Surge is fall. And then it has a raid. That's cool. Interesting to see if it's a reprise raid or if it's a new raid. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the new one, I think it's gotta be new.
Probably.
If they give us a second raid of the year, that had to be reprised. I don't know if they can do 2 new raids.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But it says new and reprise activities, new events, gear, and artifact mods. Of course. And then yeah, that's pretty much that. And then Surge gets nothing very new. Like no news about dungeon or anything.
Yeah, they probably don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
When they released that, it was like 9 months.
Behemoth.
It's so far away.
Well, actually, no, it won't get anything because Behemoth should get a dungeon. So that means Surge would get
that's right. You get the raid in the dungeon.
And then it says okay, new and then in spring 2026, a new raid event inspired by the Pantheon will be added to this update. Is that going to be just like a momentary thing, or is it going to be forever?
I don't know.
It would have to be, but that's so 2026 is so far away.
I know.
That could
it's like a year from now.
That could change.
It's actually not that
change.
It's not that far away, but the way the weeks have been stretching into years lately, like
I mean in the sense of like development, like they could call it that now, and then when they show it off, could be drastically different.
Absolutely.
It's so far away in the sense like these weeks and months are stretching, but
they got to be close to
tell us
marketing
exactly
frontiers.
What Pantheon is. Yeah. You think
It's
they're gonna market it? Like they had to give it to us by May.
Some of the marketing.
That's what I'm most interested in. Is like, I really want to see what they're going to, how they're going to promote Destiny without the carrot on the stick of finishing the story.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm most interested in.
Yeah, I think we'll probably start seeing that. Like, I wouldn't say May. I would say like probably like April. April is when they'll start teasing. And then May will be
I was thinking,
hype, right?
okay. I was thinking like they'll let Act 2 end.
Yeah.
And then do some teasers. And then they'll let Act 3 go and then drop actual news. I don't know how you do that, but like I would imagine whatever they show, they can't technically show until we see it in game.
Right.
Whatever leads us to taking the Dreadnought and leaving the solar system.
Watch that be the strike.
Listen, I'm good with that. I'd rather be a part of it than watch a cutscene. So let me actually do it.
Absolutely. Final question of the night comes from Seeker. I remember a while back seeing a video with ideas for Destiny. I saw a thing about darkness zones in Patrol. It's like a weekly rotator where a planet or part of the planet becomes corrupted and full of HVTs, champions, open world bosses, and modifiers. Optional load in. Do you think that there's a place for this still in Destiny? Personally, I'd love to see Patrols get some sort of spin on them.
I have a question about that. Maybe two. So one, when you say optional load-in, isn't like similar to like the Leviathan when it came back, where like you can load in like an instance where it's more activity focused, or is it or like the same thing that has also Neomuna, I think, to do that where you can load into an activity focused instance. If so, that should be fine. My fear with this type of activity, it's a great idea. I love this idea, really do actually. But my fear with that is it will remind me of the Seraph Towers.
Yeah, we had that early on, right? Like we had that
we
with
did.
Yeah.
But no, do you remember with Seraph Towers? Like those were in a patrol zone,
space.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And like
nobody did them.
Yeah, that's my fear. That's my fear. I'm really afraid that like something like that would happen again because they were in a patrol zone, and then if you wanted to do them, like people would pass through because they were not interested in that, which is fair. But then like it was hard to complete them because of that. And then when it came out like new, it was like the Splicer season, they put them in like their own little bubble because they learned from that season.
Seeker is saying optional load in, like you can load into a non-corrupted, non-darkness version of a patrol zone too. I probably the closest thing that we have to it right now that I would think of is if we had like with regular Nether, you have more lives, you have like it's an easier experience than what you would have than hopping into expert by yourself, where you have limited lives, you have like you have the opportunity for better reward by completing it, or at least adepts for the option for the weapons that are available right now in the in that pool. I like that is kind of where I would see that going, and they would have to really make the carrot worth the stick on that. Like, would you
Because
make
I like
adept
the
world
idea.
drop weapons? Like,
well, I was thinking of, I hate to bring back Neomuna, but I was thinking of, remember when Neomuna had those exotics? And that was the only way you could get the exotics. And I remember,
oh right, yeah,
whenever like one of those special public events spawned, all of a sudden you'd see that area get flooded with 9-player all the people that could get into that lobby go there, and you would have 9 people actively fighting a big boss that had a lot of health for 9 players, all to receive the exotics. Now obviously
Expedition Protocol.
Yeah.
Well,
Excellent.
also
that was
Escalation
fun.
Protocol as well. So there are a few times where it has been done efficiently and effectively.
Yep.
But they also have a expiration date. Once you get the whatever, you're out. So it's kind of hard to figure out a way to make that system and make it in a way that you want to continually re-engage with it after earning whatever it is. And that's the hard part. And the only way you can, in Destiny, which people are going to hate, you're going to have to make it super, super rare sometimes to keep people engaged, just for the opportunity of getting whatever. Now, obviously, whatever it is has to be worth your time to finally, whenever it drops, you actually, okay, my 180 runs or whatever all amounts to me getting whatever this item is.
But
that's the
what
only
if
way.
they did no, but like think about it this way. What if they did something like, you know how you get the ciphers, like the Nightfall ciphers? What if you do this activity and you get, I'm gonna call it cipher because I don't have anything other than that in mind, but like you get a
Good
specific
comparison.
currency for it, right? And you can grab an adept weapon for the week. Very similar to that. Because you could do that with Coil, right? That was a really good thing about Coil, where if you ran Coil, you would get a Nightfall ciphers. And I love that about it. It was so what if like you run this activity, and because not everybody can do GM, not everybody has the time or the people to run GMs. But what if you did this activity and you get Nightfall ciphers? What if you did this activity and similar to Splicer Season, the first, I don't know, X amount of time, 3 times I think, in the week, you would get weapons drop with multiple perks, right? Like 3 perks per column, up to 3 perks per column, or armor that had really high stats, or maybe artifice armor. You could get up to 3 pieces of artifice armor a week, or 3 weapons with multiple perks a week, and you could like decide. Like Onslaught, you could decide, here's what I would like to get as weapon, right? You can turn on that I want this weapon for my drops this week, or I want this piece of armor for my drop this week. I want to get just the cipher for this week, or so on and so forth. If they made it something like that, where it's a little bit more customizable in terms of the loot you get, and not just exotics, and not just because, like you said, with the exotic, for example, you have like a time limit on that. Once you get the exotic, there's kind of no point in running it again.
Yeah.
But what if they made it? It's more like a vaster, maybe not a vaster loot, but like a loot that can drop with more perks, or adept versions of certain loot, or ciphers, or artifice armor. Because again, not everybody can do dungeons, and I know that a lot of people love to get that like artifice armor without having to do master dungeons, because again, you can't find the people for that, or the time, and so on and so forth. I think that if they did something like that, similar to Coil, where you get rewards from other activities in that specific activities, that could work.
No, I agree. I think the thing that probably works the easiest is, like you said, in-game armor, like artifice armor and stuff like that. Because like you said, say you just only have a little bit of time, maybe you just don't want to try to do a GM. They also have all that world armor that should probably have artifice versions as well that they could add too, Yeah. More places for in-game stuff.
Yep.
I just anytime they're going to make a new system, I just look at the system now and just hope that they can figure out a way to make that system have staying power. Because it always sucks when they give us a system. They spend 8-9 months working on a system, and then they
get rid of
put
it.
out this system, and then they get rid of it or change it because all their financial investment on this system, and they thought this was going to solve whatever issue. Put it out. No one really engages with it after week 1, and then they're like, "Well, we spent all this time. What are we gonna do?" And you're like, "Well, you could have spent that time working on the sandbox instead of making this change that nobody wanted or not enough people wanted."
I know.
It's happened so many times. Like,
no.
So while I agree, I just hope whatever they do, they've thought long term on it. That's it.
I agree with you, but like I know also that there's parts of previous seasons that people really enjoy, that they could kind of amalgamate together into like this activity, right? Like if we take Seeker's idea of like a darkness zone and so on and so forth, similar again to the I said it earlier, the one on Mars. I have Hivex because that was the dev name of it, but
Hivex?
Escalation Protocol. It was Hivex.
EP.
The dev name of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a dev name. I didn't know that.
That was a dev name of it. Yeah, it was Hivex. Like EP, and when they made a change to EP, because I remember back in EP, you used to have to bring in people to have like 9 people together.
I had to do that. Had to have the anchors. Yeah.
Exactly. You had to you had to anchor people. You had to. It was a whole thing, but it was cool. It was fun. And then when they made a change that if you failed a round of EP, would just go back down 1 instead of starting all right. That was a great change. So bring back the difficulty level, let's say, of like a EP at the start when it came out, and you had to anchor, but bring back the system of like if you fail a level, you just go back 1, and bring a loot system.
Back when it was a GM level and all the people were mad.
Yeah, it was so difficult. But it was fun. I remember really enjoying that one.
They were like, "How dare you make this 25 levels above me?" And we're like, "Okay, fine, we'll make it 10."
But like, and then make the loot interesting. You can get exotics, you can get like make the loot system similar to Coil, right? Where like every level you get a chest, but at the end you get like a bunch of chests, which a bunch of stuff in it, right? And make it also Onslaught where you can say, I want more drops of this specific weapon, or I want more drops of this specific armor, or whatever.
Targeting
and
would be really nice for that kind of thing.
Yes. You need, at this point in this game, you need targeting. You absolutely need targeting. But not only that, give me targeting, but also give me weapons with perks, like in Splicer. My first 3 runs of the week, I get weapons with 3 perks in every column. And because I can also target it, then I can target this specific thing like we did with Onslaught. Remember when people chasing shinies, you can do the same thing again with that, right? And I feel like that would make me play this, make it as interesting and fun and, again, difficult content like Escalation Protocol back in the day, but make it have a fail-safe. I mean, at some point, if you fail all the time, fail. That's okay. But give me like some chances to get that. Give me a way to target my loot. Give me really good loot that would be interesting with all the perk available on it. All of that. Give me all of that, and man, I would play the heck out of this. It's very similar to Menagerie. Like bring in these systems that people really loved, mash them together, make something cool out of it. And I think it would bring back some people, because a lot of people complain about the grind because they're like, well, the grind is not fun, or patterns, weapon patterns, being able to craft weapons kind of took the grind out of the thing, which I also understand. It's fun though. It's fun to be able to be like, I want a specific weapon, I can make that specific weapon. But like, yeah, if you mash up parts of things in a good way, if you mash up like systems and parts of things that people really enjoyed in a really well-made activity, I think it would.
Heck yeah.
I think, yes, if that was made this way, maybe. But if it's just a regular zone that people can go in and out, no.
Right.
No.
I'm willing to give it a shot. Like I said,
yeah,
I'm willing to hear them out, see what they end up doing.
Yeah.
I just hope with it. At this point, I think the game is old enough or seasoned enough that whatever new systems they put in the game should be implemented with the thought process of that being a core system for X amount of years down the line. That's all. So I'm really hopeful that I'm not. Anytime someone's like, "Hey, what about this in the game?" I'm like, "Yep, do it." As long as it's not like retired in 8 months.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm very tired of stuff coming out,
Coming
really
and
like
going.
Yeah, really liking an activity. Like I loved
Or
Coil.
rebuilding a wheel.
Or rebuilding a wheel. That didn't need to
I loved Coil. I
Yeah.
loved the way it was made. I loved the loot system. I loved all of it. It was a really cool system. And then it was gone.
Yeah.
And they bring back things that are similar, but not quite the same, and not quite as, for me,
Sticky?
not quite as good. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like I don't enjoy that content. Like I was running Nether earlier and I was like, why am I like why am I shooting these vase? Like what does it bring me? Is it just random stuff? Whereas in Coil, it would bring me like things to buy better, like buffs and stuff, right? So I don't know, it just felt a little bit weird to me. I was like, what is this? But anyway, yeah, I think I think they need to stop bringing stuff momentarily and then just taking it away. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I get that.
It's very frustrating.
Yeah.
Some sort of standardization of their process and of receiving loot would help. I also think like
it would help for return players to kind of know too.
Yeah.
Like how many times, Dan, have you had someone ask you, how do I get such and such weapon? I mean, I'm a lapsed player. I remember getting I remember this is how I used to get stuff back in the day, and now it's clearly not that way. Like
about I would say like probably like once or twice every other help stream. Like you have somebody coming back in that's like, "Hey, I'm new," or "Hey, I'm just coming back," that does ask that question. I would say like it's like once or twice every other stream that like that happens. And so
and the other side of that, because you're a more connected player, how often do you not know?
Oh, dude, it is. Well, I have the mental capacity of a goldfish, so it's like. So
Well,
if
I
somebody,
say that because I'm
yeah,
that way because a lot of times someone will ask me how do you obtain, I don't know, Hawk Moon? I'm like,
yeah, it's
oh,
like, dude, I got that like 5 years
the
ago.
way I
Like,
got it
yeah,
was from this exotic mission.
yeah,
You're like, oh,
I would,
can I go do that exotic mission? I'm like, oh, wait, no, you got to go do
yeah.
Zero Quest now. And I'm like,
Usually my thing is like check the kiosk, like
yeah.
check the kiosk
Yeah.
next to your vault and see if it's there, and then do the activities in order to like fill in the requirements to get that weapon. Like generally,
Yeah,
that's
just
Exactly.
centralizing the way people earn loot and content
mhm,
is very like disjointed in the sense of if you're always playing, the
mhm,
way you obtain loot is always going to be dramatically different from someone who attained it like even 6 months
yeah,
later, which is always like anytime someone asks me the question of how I get such and such, I hate. I hate to be the guy, but
yeah.
I don't know.
We are
Yeah.
2 months away. We're 2 months away from Choir of One having a very different way of acquisition.
Yeah. Fire One,
Mhm.
Slayer's
Mm-hmm.
Fang, even I'm assuming maybe Barrow died
Oh, yeah, well,
and Apollo might
yeah,
not.
yeah. I mean, if unless like if the dreadnought sticks around, maybe not. But if it goes away,
Yeah, that's unclear. Yep.
like you're looking at very different ways of getting those weapons, like in
Hmm.
less than 2 months.
And you can argue like it might not matter, but like I guarantee if it has a Queenbreaker Renaissance and
Mm-hmm.
then everyone needs Slayer Fang for some reason, it's like I don't know how to get it because the way I got it a year ago
Yeah.
Yeah,
is not
Yeah.
how you're gonna obtain it.
it was in a mission that might have been a strike, or was it a strike? Oh, it was an exotic mission. That's right. That's right. No, I remember
Yeah.
now. Like that's the
And then they're like,
conversation.
"Where's that exotic mission?" And you're like, "I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, that's very true. That's so true.
Check the Legends tab."
Yeah.
That's so sad. When you think about it, it's very sad.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, man. All we are, dust in the wind.
Mm.
With that
Yep.
said, thanks everybody for listening to episode 91 of the Destiny Digest podcast. Big shout outs to everybody who's stuck with us through the past few weeks. Y'all have been awesome. I appreciate you. We Before we get out of here, let's tell the folks where they can find you at home. Eseipha, why don't we start with you?
Blue Sky, pretty much. Yeah, it's pretty much the only place I really am anymore.
Yeah.
So Blue Sky is the way to go. I still have Twitter, but I don't use it. I just go there once in a while. So Blue Sky with the same handle. That's where you can find me, message me, or interact with me.
Heck yeah. Epic Dan, what about you? Where can people find you, sir?
You can find me on the twitch.tv/epicdan22. Like we always say, there's really not a schedule, but there's a very big chance that if you come by a stream, there's a chance I'm live. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also YouTube. There's also the TikTok and the Blue Sky. And hopefully in the next couple weeks you can finally see my entire Elden Ring experience of the level 1. It's coming along. I'm trying to
Heck
make
yeah.
it somewhat decent, but coming along.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Like, my name's Danfinity. You can find me at danfinity.gg. That's where all my stuff lives. I recently quit Twitter, and will only be posting there using a third party function. So don't find me there. Find me everywhere else. That's danfinity.gg. And this week, I believe that we are doing our placements for the international tournament of the
Oh,
creator
right.
showcase
Let's
Dan
go.
Finney, the speed runner.
Yeah, we gotta carve 10 minutes off of our runs somewhere. So I'll probably be practicing that a lot this week. So come through. I'll see you guys there. And with that's the end of the show. So Thank you so much for listening, and we hope you find what you're grinding for.